we're ready to apply some finish, and I'm going to be using tung oil. I like tung oil. It's easy to apply. I think it leaves a nice durable finish, and I'm going to put 3 coats on this one. And actually, the first coat is going to soak in pretty good, and the second coat is going to add some gloss to it, and then the third coat is going to even add a little bit more gloss to it. So that's what we're going to do. I've got some tung oil here in a little application bottle, and I got this little tool that I use. I figured out the inside of these things is kind of hard to finish sometimes, so it's just a dowel rod with a piece of cotton cloth taped to it. I use duct tape, and I'm going to turn the lay speed down very low, as low as I can get it actually, and I'm just going to apply some tung oil to this cotton cloth, and I apply a generous amount. I want a good coat, and this works pretty good. I haven't had any problem with it, so I ought to get her done. So we'll just turn her on. We've got it set down real low. Simply all I do is just run it in and apply the finish. And this is probably one of my favorite parts of turning a vase or a bowl or anything, because I really enjoy watching the color come out in the wood as you apply these finishes. So that's about all it'll take for the first coat on the inside. It looks like we've got a good application there. And then again, I'll just take another soft cotton cloth to apply the finish on the outside. Again, with the lay speed low. If you turn the lathe up too high, it'll throw it all over you. So try to avoid that. Like I said, I really enjoy watching the wood come alive when you apply these finishes. You can actually see the difference in the various rings. It's pretty cool looking. Well, that's pretty good for the first coat. What I'll do is I'll let this sit for about 15 minutes or so, and then I'll come back with a dry cotton cloth and just kind of buff it off. Our coat number 1 has been on there about 10 minutes, maybe 15, but we're good. It's warm in here, and got a good finish. So what we're going to do is we're going to buff this out just lightly, and then we'll let it sit for 24 hours. We'll come back and apply a second coat and buff it out. We'll let it sit for another 24 hours, and then we'll buff it out for our final finish. So that's what we're going to do. Again, the lay speed is turned down low from where I applied the finish, so I'm going to turn it up just a little bit for this process. Not a lot. It's running about 720, and this is just use the same tool with a dry, clean cotton rag, and I'll just lightly buff it to ensure that we have a good smooth finish. Pretty good. And then we'll just take another clean, dry cotton rag and we'll lightly buff the outside. Okay, looking good. Okay, I'm going to apply the next 2 coats, and then when we come back, we'll be ready to part it off and finish the bottom. Okay, we've got our finish applied now. We got 3 coats of tung oil on, and we've buffed it out. We've got a nice finish on it. Very pleased with the way it turned out. We're at the point now where we need to part it off so that we can finish the bottom. And you'll see that I've placed the tailstock up here just to kind of support it just a little bit. It's not very tight. I get a little anxious at this point. I'm always afraid when I'm parting something off like this that something might go wrong and I can tear something up, that's always a possibility, I guess. We'll be using a parting tool just to part it off, and we'll part it off with a parting tool part of the way, and then we'll move our tool rest out of the way, and we'll finish it off with a saw, and then we'll smooth up the bottom using the disc sander and what have you. So we'll just turn it on here. We'll take our time. This MDL creates a lot of dust. So you might want to always be careful with that. Try not to breathe it. I would suggest using the respirator. Okay. I believe we'll stop there, and I'll take the tool rest off, and then we'll simply just take this little saw, and we'll use our saw to go ahead and go the rest of the way through. And there we have it. We have it parted off now, and we'll take it over to the disc sander and we'll smooth this up, and then we'll see what we've got. Okay, we're at the disc sander now, and all I really want to do is I just want to smooth this up to remove any of the waste that we still have on there and just smooth it all up. And we'll just simply this disc sander for that. There we go. Okay, well, we've got our vase mounted in a set of flat jaws. What we're going to do is we're going to face this off so that we can ensure that it sits flat on the table. You need to be very, very careful at this point. Flat jaws I wouldn't suggest running anything at a very high speed. We're going to set this thing probably at around, somewhere around 500. And we're going to take some very, very, very light cuts. And all we're trying to do is just make sure that we're good and flat here so that when it sets on the table, of course, it won't rock around. So I'm just going to move my tool rest up, and with these tools I'm going to be using this round cutter, this round carbide cutter. You want to make sure that you're in the center. We need to drop it just a tad to get it in the center. We're pretty close there, so I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to run it at about, it's about 400. That's probably, we're going to try it right there at about 400. I'm going to take some very, very light cuts, and I want to try to cup the center just a little bit. To ensure that we don't have any high spots in the center. Let's check it and see what we've got. You know what, I believe that'll work. Now that we've got it faced off smooth and sitting flat on the table, we're just going to finish the bottom just a little bit with some sandpaper. I've got, I think, 120 on here. I just want to finish it off. I'll probably go ahead and just run through the grits here. It doesn't take long to run through the grits on the bottom. Sand it up to about a 400. Okay. I've sanded it up through the grits to this point. And we've got a good flat surface. I always like to sign and date the bottom of the vase or anything that I'm working on, and we've actually applied 1 coat of tung oil to the bottom, so I'm ready to apply another coat. And we do this the same way that we did the outside. We just turn the lay speed all the way down as low as we can get, and just put us a little tung oil on a cloth and spread it on. And that'll do it for that. We'll let that dry a bit and we'll come back. There we have our finished vase. 361 pieces of mahogany. I've enjoyed building the vase. I hope you've enjoyed watching the videos. I hope you've been able to pick up a little something from these videos. So until next time, we'll see you then.